Hello, welcome pen friends. It's time for doing ink profiles on ink flight number 22, the November ink flight. So we're starting right out today with the first one on our panel, which is 3 Oysters. All of these inks are from 3 Oysters made in Korea. And the first one is Purple Gray. I just realized just now I don't have them individually swatched onto little index cards, but we have them here where we can see them to launch off from. So that's where we're starting. Now, first of all, I'm going to go ahead and put in a little tester of this into the water so we can see. We've been told by the little itinerary that they're non-permanent, so I'm pretty sure basically what'll happen, but we'll see. You know, we can always be surprised. Sometimes I get real surprised by what stays behind on the page after they get dunked. So there we go. Now I think we'll start in where we usually do, in the Rhodia goal book in my ink journal. But before I do that, let me just explain. We're going to have 2 pens this time. We're using the Serendipity, which is a hybrid fountain dip pen. It's got a fountain pen nib and feed, and I've decided to put a 1.1 millimeter Goulet nib on it, and so we're using that. And then as a little experiment, I'm using my Jim Hines pen. I don't know why, but I don't have a fine nib that I can, you know, at number 6 that I can get out of a pen anyway. I've got a couple pens where I just can't get the nib out. And this is one of them. So this is the Hines Blue Storm, a custom pen that I won in Larry's fountain pen giveaway some time ago. It's the most beautiful pen in my collection. But the thing is, it's got a standard number 6 nib on it, which has, it's either Bach or Yowo, and I'm not sure about that. So but it's very compatible, and it's a fine nib. Then also it has the converter. Whoops! And I've got Purple Gray in there, is a little bit in there anyway. And it's easy to clean out a converter pen. So what I'm going to try anyway is to see whether we can see each of these inks in both nibs. And you know, it doesn't give you everything, but it gives a little variety. And maybe we'll change it up next series or something like that. Actually, I love this case too. This is from Rickshaw, and it's a long one, and it holds that nice big pen and keeps it safe. So, okay, that's the preliminaries. Now, to get into here, whoops, we've got a nice little page to start with that we'll be filling up. And I always keep these because Tom puts a lot of really cool information about each ink and about the company and everything, and then on the back is about the little pen goodies. So I'll be filling this in as we go, and here's Purple Gray. It's kind of a muted purple, and at first I thought, I don't have anything like it. I was convinced. So you'll see my little Franken board there that I ended up making, because I did have a couple of compatible ones. Oh, and I can't seem to get away from Halloween because I still have stickers and washi from my moon stuff, and so I love that, so I use that. But here we are. This was my very first writing with this ink, which is in that 1.1 millimeter stub. Now, you know, my writing's a little weird because I haven't written with a stub too much lately. So it's just probably gonna get a little bit better maybe as we go, but hopefully. You know, I try to get fancy, then I realize, oh no, I just want to write, and so it's a little mixture. But I found that these inks are available at Goulet Pens in a 38 milliliter bottle for $16, or you can buy from them a sample of 2 mil for $1.75. And this ink looks pretty dark in this nib, and then I didn't reserve enough space to write with the other pen, so then at the end I just came down here. But we're going to see this other pen on all the other ink samples, on all the other pages that I wrote on, so I think that'll help. My first impression is I prefer brighter colors, even though this did dark, you know, stay dark nice in that wide of a nib. I mean, you know, my immediate reaction is that it isn't something that that I want for myself, but I know a couple of pen friends who are really going to like this. I can practically name names. And then the other thing was, I was having a little bit of trouble writing, but yesterday I was writing with the nib. I spent the whole day yesterday using Kobe No. 6 Bordeaux with that nib to make sure that everything was operational and I could kind of hold, you know, make it work, and it was no problem. So I was just kind of puzzled. So it was probably me, though, because I know this ink seems to flow really well. Anyway, there'll be some adjustment stuff with me with a different nib, because I'm so used to the broad nib. But that's just so you know that it might not look as good as it will later or something. I don't know. But here's the Cafe Note on, it's Tomoe River paper in this little, gosh, I don't know what size it is actually, but it's about 1.5 inches all the way around on the sides, smaller than an A5. So that might not tell much. Okay, so I did a combination here, but this is another long story. Here it is in the 1.1 millimeter stub, my check-in for the day on my intermittent fasting and low carb. I was kind of shocked today. I saw 150 on the scale. It's been since 1991 since I've seen that. And then I initially thought I was going to use the Wing Sung 3003. It has an extra fine nib, but it's a wet nib, and I thought that was just going to be so nice because it's a demonstrator and I could see in and I could, you know, but it didn't work out good at all. That pen didn't like this ink, and that pen has been used with Rohr & Klinger Cassia and some other really wet inks that it likes, so that just puts a little bit of a question in my mind, and I'll keep on observing. So I wrote with it for this, but then I bailed. I took the ink back out into and I put it into the Heinz. So, oh yeah, I wrote down, I found a new book that I am getting a lot out of. The Power AC, The Power of Appetite Correction. It's really cool. So anyway, you can see there's a big difference. It lightens up a lot on an extra fine or fine nib, and we'll see that some more here in a minute. Took me a little while to realize the Wing Sung was not going to work for what I wanted. And then this little notebook. Whoops, I just love this notebook. So I'm doing my November gratitude. I'm, you know, going along with ink journal with this. And here's the ink. Doesn't that look nice? I thought that looked really, you know, that really shows off the color even better, I think, than the watercolor paper did. Well, maybe the same, but you know, it does definitely stay true on this nice paper here. And I stuck with the Serendipity with the 1.1 millimeter Goulet nib for this. And so that's what it looked like. I thought it was cool. Yeah. Okay, now we've got a lot of paper samples with a little bit of explanation too, because we ended up seeing 3 different things here. This is Tomoe River paper. And the top sample is from the stub right there. See, it stays nice and dark. Then here's the Wing Sung, which liked this paper. It didn't give me any trouble on the Tomoe River paper. And I didn't realize there was a problem till a little bit later on. And then I came back in with the Heinz, with the fine regular No. 6 nib. And it's odd that it looks a little lighter, but it does. So that is a wet noodle. And I really was disappointed that it didn't act right as I progressed, because I thought that was going to be a good choice. Okay, and then over here is the Leuchtturm 1917. Again, the top is the stub. And then here we go into the Wing Sung. And then they look almost the same, you know, when I switched over to the Heinz with the fine nib. It does significantly lighten, and now it makes me kind of curious about a medium nib. But I try to, you know, do these rapidly, and maybe that might be a fault. I don't know. I'll have to kind of think about that as we go. Here's the Clairfontaine on the 90 gram. And there's the stub with it. And I wrote a little thing that says drags. Oh, I got real disturbed. I didn't like how it wrote it all on the Clairfontaine, which I realized, oh, that's not good. So that was my first indicator this choice wasn't going to be too good. And it did not do that with the Heinz with the fine nib. It didn't drag at all. And it was nice and smooth. That's a beautiful nib in that pen. Okay, so then Rhodia DotPad ATG. Again, it dragged with the second pen, with the wing sung. So that told me that I wasn't going to really be good for this. So there's the stub, nice and juicy there. And then it worked out fine with the fine nib. I believe it's a Yo-O nib, but it could be a Bach. I'm not sure in that Heinz pen. Okay, so now let's go to CVS caliber paper. It was a disaster in the wing sung on that paper. So, oh, it was horrible. Here it is, though, with the stub. And it didn't do too great with that either. Of course, my writing is, you know, adjusting to the stub. So, and then, oh, I thought, oh, this is going to be one of those bad days or something. But no, it just wasn't a good fit. And then it does okay with this one. But I would just say no to this paper with this ink. So, and that's kind of unusual for me. But okay, here we go. Last paper, Office Depot College Ruled. Yeah, it flowed right along nicely with the stub. No problem on that. And I would imagine it would in probably still in a medium nib, just out of experience, I would say that. And then I tried to mislabel this, but this is the wing sung, and it didn't do good at all. It dragged, and I was beginning to worry about the pen. In fact, it's in the to be fixed pile because I don't know whether it's the pen or the ink. Could be a little of both. I hadn't used that in quite a while. And then here it is in the Heinz pen with the fine nib. And it did just fine with that. I didn't have any dragging or skipping or mess up with that. So, okay. So that's at least a little bit of an idea for you. Now, let's look at the panels. Okay. This is the primary panel. Whoops, I'm sticking to everything. Here's the primary panel that we have today. Oh my, look at that. Look at that. Now, that's a surprise to me. Look at that. It stayed on there. Huh. Not the purpley, not the gray, but kind of a darker. Oh, okay. Well, that, you know, we just had the Robert Oysters and every single one of them vanished, so that's interesting. A little bit of a difference there. Okay, so here's our panel, and up in the left corner is our ink of the day, 3 Oysters Purple Gray. There's a lot of interesting things that I can see. Really was surprised at how much it reminded me of the Birmingham Allegheny River Twilight. Now, to my eye, I see more of the purpley pink coming out of this one, and I see more of the gray coming out of the Birmingham ink. So that's something maybe to keep in mind if you favor either direction. If you favor the purple, you might want to go with one like this. And if you favor a little more of the gray with just a hint of purple, then you got your Birmingham. So, and then here's another Birmingham ink that was that blue comes out of, but it's quite a bit more purpley, quite a bit more traditional purple without the gray. And then, of course, a lot of us are familiar with Diamine Amazing Amethyst, so I thought I'd put that on there. It's brighter, it's more purpley, it's got a lot different stuff going on. And I used to think that was a light purple, but now I know that you can go even lighter. In fact, I got out my amethyst that is really, really on the light side. It's more lavender, and a lot of my amethyst pieces are darker, but it reminded me so much of this. Just really reminded me of it. So anyway, then we have a couple of bulletproof or permanent inks on the end, and both are Noodlers. Now this one actually does kind of resemble the purple gray, Noodler's Mada Cordial, but I don't like it. It doesn't move around. I'm not saying I don't like it. I haven't seen it in a nib yet, but I like to play with ink on little art and stuff, and so in terms of just comparing them flat out, I like this better because I like inks that'll move around. But for your envelopes, you don't want that, so that's amazing. And then Noodler's Polar Purple, whoa, way out of the ballpark on that one. But, you know, there was an extra space there, and that's the only one that came anywhere near close. So, now I've got a couple more. Let me push this aside real quick. Just for the heck of it. let's see. Now we've got to kind of remember where our ink is. It's right here. And that way we can kind of look at it compared to like the Papier Plume. That was a little bit interesting, a little close. Bootlegger's Scarlet Letter, but I don't think we can get that anymore. Or Sacrament either, but that's more of a maroony, and this is more kind of purpley, sort of. Okay, and then really there's nothing else on here that's comparable. Let's see, I've got one more panel. Oh yeah, I wanted to show how it compared to Violet Pensy. That's the J. Arbonne. I mean, there's no comparison. That's just so bright. And then Rohr and Klinger Acacia, kind of a traditional bright purple, real saturated purple. And then Montegrappa Violet up here. Oh yeah, there's Imperial Purple, which is another really bright, this is even more traditional purple than the Acacia. And that's an opinion, I'm sure. So that just gives you a few, I guess, you know, to compare it to. And then we'll look at what it did on the visual journal. Kind of a surprise to me what it did. Getting a little bit of lighting interference here, but not too much. A lot of gray comes out, but I'm not sure you're seeing as much of the gray as I am. It comes out here and all the way down through. Comes out, and in here it comes out kind of, and then a kind of a steel looking color, and quite a bit of lavender comes out. Now I know you could see the lavender because I'm seeing that real good through the camera. So that was an interesting test. It actually needed a lot of encouragement to move around, and that's kind of the way it acts on the panel too. You see how over here under Diamine Amazing Amethyst, you don't see much left underneath. But with this one, you do. And that's what we're finding out in the bath test, that some stuff stays, and that's good. I mean, that actually might be a factor that some people want. So, I'm kind of neutral on that. It does go ahead and move around some for art and everything. But that's interesting what it does nonetheless. Let's see. Okay, so it's still kind of readable. Yeah, it's still readable on there, and I think that's what it's going to end up being, but I'll show you on the next video for sure what it ended up being. It's so funny, guys, because when I went to do this, I was a little bit like a little kid, like, oh, do I have to do purple gray first? I'd really like to do red wine. I'd really like to do min cobalt, and I'd really like to do the jade, you know. And not that I don't like all of them, it's just that, you know, when I put them on there, it was sort of random, just trying not to, you know, worry too much about the order. See what I mean, though? It would have been a decision to make. It's easier for me to just take them as they go. And then we'll just have something to look forward to down the line. So this is just an awesome ink flight, in my opinion. I would never probably buy these. And I'm sure I would never buy one of these either. You know, but I can say that about this too. I never would have bought this. But I would have missed out because I just, you know, kind of stick with a narrow selection of things. And that's why I really kind of I love the ink flights. Because it gets me out of my box a little. I try inks that are different. I try paper that's different, and I learn. And sometimes I'll say, no, I don't need any more of that. But other times it's like, wow, what if I hadn't learned about this? So that's what I really like. Now, next is going to be this green. And this is exciting to me because green is, I'm warming up to green fountain pen ink. I hadn't spent a lot of time even thinking about green fountain pen ink until some of these profiles. So Namson, that's next. And we have two greens, so they may turn up on the same panel. They may not, I'm not sure. So that'll be really, really fun. Okay, I guess that's it for today. It took a little longer explaining about the pens and explaining about the experiments that I had, but hope you're having a great day, and I'll see you on the next video. It's a busy week, so it's probably just going to be as I can. I'll plug them in and do them in order. So, bye for now, and thank you very much for being here.